Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel and welcome to this video. Today I will be showing you how I painted this red moon, and for that I will be using Clairefontaine Fontaine watercolor paper, 300 GSM or 140 pounds. It is also called pressed watercolor paper, 100% cotton. For the brushes I will be using Raphael number 22 flat brush, Panart number 8 mop round brush, and this detail no name brush. For the watercolors, I'll be using White Nights, English Red, Ultramarine, Raw Sienna, Burnt Sienna, and Burnt Umber. And also I will be using this compass for doing my circle for the moon. I did not wet my paper this time, but I'm just picking up some raw sienna and painting in the background. I don't like my background to be white at this point, at this painting, so I did want to do a very light background, some sort of yellowish, blue, grayish tone. So I'm also mixing in a little bit of ultramarine into my raw sienna to get a different tone and just painting in the background. I left it to dry completely, and now that it's dry, I'm going to draw in a circle for my moon. And I do want to make it quite big compared to my painting, so just 1/3 or even more than 1/3 of a paper. I do want my moon to be sized, and now I've just picked up a little bit of the raw sienna, mixed in with some ultramarine and painting in the first layer. So I just want to paint in, block in all the moon, just paint in a variety of colors using a little bit of raw sienna mixed in with ultramarine. And while the paper is still wet, I'm picking up a little bit of burnt sienna and painting some parts. It's gonna bleed in some parts, add some textures. Now I'm using English Red to paint in that vibrant red color, but still quite natural. And just painting in some parts of the moon. Going back and forward, rinsing my brush, smoothing the edges, spreading the paint. And I do want to add that English Red in a couple of spots. And also some burnt sienna, mixing those two colors. Minding to stay within the borders of my moon, but not too important. If you go over a little bit, that's also going to be fine. And now I've picked up some burnt umber, adding that darker brown just to add a little bit more of the texture to my moon. Quite saturated pigment now with this English Red, burnt sienna, burnt umber. And this is just one layer. I'm just painting all the time on the wet surface. If I notice that some parts started to dry, I will pick up a little bit of the water and spread the paint, soften the edge. Now I'm picking up a little bit of the paint in some parts to add, just to give it a little bit more of the shine with a lighter color. Some splatters with water, and then adding a last layer of the darkest pigment. This time burnt umber. Just over at the corners, and I did want to finish it off with a little bit of the raw sienna, just to add a touch of the yellow and some glow to the moon. I left it to dry completely, and now I have sprayed the lower part of my paper just to make it slightly wet. But still I have dry spots, and I have picked up some burnt sienna and raw sienna, a little bit of the ultramarine, mixing all of those colors, painting in the lower part, the ground on which I'm going to paint my trees. I do want to make it quite loose. And you can see that I do have some softer edges at the top and some harsher edges also. That's what I could achieve because I did not wet the entire paper but just sprayed some water on top of my paper, and some parts of it were wet and some parts were dry. So I did achieve those harsher edges and lighter edges. With just the tip of my brush, I'm painting a tree using mix of burnt umber and a little bit of the ultramarine, and I'm adding on top one more layer, just making some parts of the tree a little bit lighter, some darker. As I said, I do want to make it quite loose, so my trees are wobbly and not even all the branches are connected. Adding a little bit of the splatters, and also some bushes and smaller maybe trees on the right side also next to that larger tree. And a bit more pigment to the ground. My paint started to dry, so I'm again having harsher edges in some parts. And now I will be using a sponge to paint the foliage on the tree. You can use your brush if you don't have a sponge, but you can also use any just kitchen sponge. That's going to be fine, any sponge you have. Just try not to soak it too much because then you will have some blobs, but just tap it slightly into your pigment and you will have this nice texture of the foliage. So adding a little bit more of the darker pigment, this time some burnt umber mixed in with ultramarine to my tree, just to create a contrast and a darker spots on my tree. And some grasses, right? Bushes. Adding a bit more pigment now again to the ground. Some splatters with brown. And I'm also going to do some splatters with English red, even though I have already removed my tape and I thought I will be finished. I decided to add more splatters, and also I decided to pick up a little bit of the pigment with my clean towel just to give it a little bit more texture, and also decided to finish it off with a couple of birds. So for that I'm using this detail brush and just adding just a few birds in front of the moon. So with that, we're done. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you find it easy enough for you to try it. So if you do like it, please hit the like button, share it and comment. If you haven't still, please do subscribe to my channel. I have many tutorials there, and also check out my Patreon. I have lots of real-time videos there, so I'm sure you will also find something for yourself. I will link it in the description box. Thank you so much for watching this, and I hope I will see you next time. Bye!